All right, so we've seen the general causes of the war. We've seen how individual countries had their own motivations for the war. Now we're going to actually see the events that started the war, the outbreak of the war of World War I that begins in 1914. And it starts because of the Serbian problem. Remember, Serbia wants Bosnia to unite all the southern Slavs, but it can't have that because Austria has that. And there were Bosnian Serbs that resented being part of the Austrian Empire. And on June 28th, the heir to the Austrian-Hungarian throne, Francis Ferdinand, and his wife were assassinated in the Bosnian city of Sarajevo by a Serbian terrorist, by a Bosnian Serbian terrorist named Gavril Princip. He was a member of a Serbian nationalist group called the Black Hand. Now, the Black Hand was not supported by the Serbian government, but it was supported by high-ranking members in the Serbian military. And this man, Gavril Princip, has now assassinated the heir to the Austrian-Hungarian throne. Despite that, war might have been avoided. Francis Ferdinand was not very popular within the Austrian government. His own grandfather did not even mourn his death. But Austria then realizes, wait, this could be our chance to eliminate the Serbian threat. But it knows if it goes to war against Serbia, it might have to go to war against Russia, so it needs to make sure that it is ready. So what happens is on July 23rd, Austria-Hungary finally officially responds to the assassination. Almost a month goes by because Austria needed to check with its closest ally, Germany, to make sure Germany would support it if it went to war with Serbia, because if it goes to war with Serbia, it's probably going to have to go to war with Russia, and Austria did not want to fight Russia by itself. So Austria asked Germany, will you support us? And Germany issued what historians have called the blank check. Now, this is a metaphor. It wasn't a literal blank check, but if you give someone a blank check to do whatever they want, it means you're going to support them no matter what. So once Austria had Germany's backing fully lined up, they then responded with an ultimatum, a list of demands that it gave Serbia that essentially violated Serbian sovereignty and allowed Austria-Hungary to come into Serbia and launch its own investigation. It even said that Serbia had to outlaw any press that was negative towards Austria. Basically, it was a list of demands that Austria knew Serbia would reject. Because remember, Austria wants a war. And sure enough, Serbia rejected the ultimatums and said no to the list of demands, so Austria declares war on Serbia on July 28th. So now you have two countries, Austria and Serbia, and they are at war. Now, on July 28th and 29th, Russia mobilizes. That means move its troops, getting ready for war. It has not declared war, but is now moving its troops near the border it shares with Austria and also Germany, because Russia is thinking, well, if we fight Austria, we're probably going to have to fight Germany. Germany views this as an act of war, and Germany gives them 24 hours to stop. The Tsar of Russia even asked his generals, could we only mobilize just against Austria? Do we have to mobilize all of our army? And all of his generals said, yes, we have to, because if we change the plan will fall apart. There are complicated military plans. So Russia does not stop mobilizing its troops. So on August 1st, Germany declares war on Russia. Now, if you're Germany, you know if you fight Russia, you're going to have to fight Russia's best friend, France. Plus, you also know France hates you and is looking for an excuse to fight you anyway. So that means you're going to have to fight a two-front war, a war in the east and a war in the west, a two-front war, but you have been preparing decades for this with your own plan called the Schieffelin Plan. So Germany is in the middle, and the plan was to simply stall Russia, right? Which you can see Russia over here. Simply stall the Russian army, slow them down. Don't defeat them, just stall them, and then focus all of the attention on France and defeat France as quickly as possible. Then take your army and defeat Russia. And if you're Germany, what you're hoping is Britain stays neutral. You're hoping Britain stays out of it. But even if they don't, Britain's army is really small. It's only 100,000 soldiers. So compared to your 900,000, you're like, even if they get involved, we can handle it. Now, France is not completely stupid. France, ever since the Franco-Prussian War, had built a series of fortifications along their shared border. But Germany's not stupid either. If you can't go through the fortifications, go around the fortifications. The Schieffelin Plan called for the German army to swing through Belgium. going around those French fortifications, then swing down and capture Paris. The plan was to defeat France in a matter of weeks. There are a few potential problems with this plan. By going through Belgium, you violate Belgian neutrality. And in the 1800s, Britain signed a treaty promising to protect Belgium. So if you violate Belgian neutrality, you might suck Britain into the war, but if you're Germany, you're going to roll that dice because maybe Britain doesn't get involved. Maybe they mind their own business. And then they do get involved. In Germany's mind, they only have a small army, so Britain's no big deal. Another potential problem is if the Russians are far better than you're thinking, and then you have to take troops that were fighting in France and ship them by train to fight the Russians, all of a sudden that's going to slow down your advance into France. Or what if the Belgians somehow slow you down? Or what if the weather's bad and your troops can't move as fast? Because the longer this goes on, the less likely it is for it to work. For the Schieffelin plan to work, you have to defeat France in a few weeks to a month. And then you have to focus on Russia. So if you get stopped or slowed down, the plan is not going to work. And then you're stuck fighting a two-front war. So Germany goes ahead and declares war on France on August 3rd because they knew France was going to declare war on them, so they just did it first. Then Germany violates Belgian neutrality, and sure enough, Britain does get involved. Britain declares war on Germany on August 4th, in part because its fellow members of the Triple Entente have been attacked, but also because Germany has violated Belgian neutrality. Also, remember, Britain fears Germany's growing navy, so this gives them an opportunity to potentially eliminate that threat as well. So to review, many of these countries have their own personal reasons. Russia feels like it's got to get involved because it has to defend the Slavs. It's a matter of pride. Austria declares war on Serbia because they view Serbia as a threat. Germany views the war as a chance to defeat Russia and France and break encirclement. France views it as a chance to get vengeance on Germany for the Franco-Prussian War. Britain sees it as an opportunity to defeat Germany and decrease its power, particularly the power of its growing navy. Also, Britain is thinking, well, if we don't do anything and all of our allies lose, we'll be by ourselves and we won't have any friends. So each country had a reason, and each country had a chance not to fight as well in this war that turns into World War I, because it's not going to be a quick war. It's not going to be over by Christmas, as many of the generals promised. The Schieffelin plan is going to fail. It's not going to work, and the war is going to go on all the way through 1917 into 1918.